Chapter 5 Genius Cannonfodder's Counterattack Record 5. When the dishes were done, Xiao didn't leave the kitchen. He continued to call for the system. System, system. The system said, "We don't sell rat poison." Xiao. The system then continued, "We also don't sell sleeping pills and weed killer." Xiao comforted him. "Don't be scared, I was just going to ask about the hypnosis cards." The system, "How long-lasting do you want them to be, and what effect do you want?" Xiao, "How long-lasting can they be, and what effects do they have?" The system said, "Like with the other cards, hypnosis cards are split into 3 grades, low, medium, and high. The difference is in the effect duration. Low-grade ones last 60 minutes, mid-grade ones last 90 minutes, and the high-grade one's duration is customizable but cannot exceed 6 hours. "That works," Xiao said. 2 cards, 1 high-grade and 1 low-grade. 14 points. Xiao didn't hesitate. Done. The system didn't immediately make the exchange. "What do you want these hypnosis cards for?" Xiao replied bluntly, "I'm worried about surnamed Yang going into heat." The system expressed his understanding. Xiao was his 11th host. Almost everyone had raised similar concerns to System Ling Liuyi 061 in the First World. After all, in every world, most of the original hosts had some relationship with the target, and the public grain still needed to be dispensed. His first 10 task-takers had all circled around the target, basically never breaking away from the original plotline. They would only use the original plotline to avoid pitfalls when appropriate, expressing all kinds of goodwill to the target. When the goodwill level of the target reached 100, they would fake their deaths and leave the world. Most of the time, at this point, the regret level of the target would reach its peak. Out of so many task-takers, Xiao was the only brave person willing to break away from the original plotline in the very first world. But on the issue of public grain, his attitude was extremely resolute, shockingly stubborn. The system said, "We provide free evacuation services." At such times, when intimate relations were about to occur, they would extract the host's consciousness and awareness from the original host's body, minimizing the discomfort of the task-taker. Leaning against the fridge, Xiao lightly pinched the bridge of his nose. "That's not the problem." The system thought of a possibility. "You object to the position?" Xiao let out a scornful laugh. "I object to the person." The system, "Yang Baihua." Xiao tilted his head. "Don't make me insult him." The system understood. He said, "All right, then you'll be using the low-grade hypnosis card on him today?" "Use both." Despite saying this, Xiao then continued, "First use the low-grade hypnosis card to put him to sleep. It's already night anyways. If no accidents occur, he'll stay asleep for the entire night." The system asked, "The other card?" Xiao answered, "Use it on me." The system paused. Xiao closed his eyes, using Cheng Yuan's face to let out a smile that was purely Xiao's, frivolous, careless, and containing a little self-mockery. "Or do you guys have any sleeping pills for sale?" Following Xiao's instructions, the system redeemed 2 hypnosis cards and successfully put them to use. Having sent Yang Baihua to sleep, Xiao set himself a 6-hour time limit and then followed him into a deep sleep. After he fell asleep, the system sent the main system a permission signal. Number 61-101, Liuyi, Yaoyi, Ling Yi, requesting permission to log into the main system. A second later, a mechanical voice sounded. Number 61-101, Liuyi Ling Yi has login permissions. Request approved. Immediately after that, the originally stable streams of data suddenly started to go out of control, flowing madly like a waterfall, glowing as brilliantly as starlight. The waterfall-like sheets of starlight gradually filtered into brilliant bodies of light, forming physical entities. Under the flowing light curtain, a man in a white shirt and black pants appeared. He stood barefoot in a spacious, tall, domed hall, surrounded by a crowd of people in similar clothing milling around him. A few people recognized him, greeting him familiarly. 061, Ling Liuyi, you've come. Did you pick up a new host? Ling Liuyi 061 answered, Didn't you only just finish up with one? It's only been 2 universal days. Why didn't you take 10 days or half a month off to reward yourself? No time, Ling Liuyi 061 replied. The person asking was number 666, Liu, a newcomer. Hearing this, he asked, confused, No time? What are you rushing for? Ling Liuyi 061 didn't answer. He stared at the ground, slightly perplexed, as if trying his hardest to remember something. Next to them, another young man with an elegant nose and deep eyes seemed to understand. He frowned slightly, then gave Liu 666 a meaningful glance. Changing the subject, he asked Ling Liuyi 061, What did you come back here for? Ling Liuyi 061 said, I'm looking for Ling San 023. He recently moved offices. You should head southwest and look for room 1008. Ling Liuyi 061 smiled. Ling Liuyi 061 had the appearance of a refined and gentle young man. Straight-backed, eyes bright with stars, when he smiled, he was like the early morning sunlight reflecting off snow, looking very approachable. Thanks. After saying his goodbyes and walking off a fair distance away, he could still hear Liu 666 complaining, Don't even mention that host of mine to me. What else is that guy good for, aside from having a big and lively thing? He holds on with a death grip, refusing to let go, and he uses up all the condoms in the shop. The man found the southwestern room 1008 and knocked on the door. Only after a long wait did he hear a chilly, Please come in. He opened the door and entered. As he pushed open the door, the insides of the room loaded in. The surrounding light dispersed before gathering together once more, coalescing into a giant, human brain-shaped quantum computer. On closer inspection, the flowing neurons and peristaltic synapses were the brain were all bytes of orbiting data like a sea. This was the main God's system brain, which connected the databases of various worlds. A teenager with snow-white skin sat in front of the giant quantum computer, 2 long, slender, silvery white data cables laid out on the table before him. He was playing Tetris on an old-fashioned video game console, his pale fingernails moving like lightning over the red and green controller buttons. He had albinism, so his hair and skin were all the same shade of white. Ling Liuyi 061 said, Ling San 023, it's me. Ling San 023 didn't raise his head. He let out a single, oh, followed by, you again. He successfully eliminated a few more lines of blocks, making the console in his hands ring out with consecutive ding-ding noises of blocks disappearing. Ling Liuyi 061 stepped into the room, standing barefoot on the matte ceramic tiles, patiently waiting for him to finish his game. As he played, Ling San 023 asked, What did you come here for? Ling Liuyi said, I want to download a few movies. Ling San held up his console. Ah. Ling Liuyi 061. Operating the game console with a single hand, he picked up the data cables on the table with the other. The thin plug of the data cable morphed into shape as it approached his temple. Cobweb-thin silver filaments extended from the top of the cable, intertwining as they entered his temple, connecting directly to his brain. Soon after, dense strings of binary code flashed across Ling San 023's eyes. Ling San 023 shot out, Serial number? Ling Liuyi 061. What damn serial number? He answered, All the movies Xiao has acted in. Hearing these 8 words, the teenager who had been engrossed in his game suddenly looked up as if he had seen a ghost. His finger flexed involuntarily, activating fast drop. By the time he noticed and tried to salvage the situation in a panic, game over had already filled the screen. Ling San 023 swore, then tossed the video game console back onto the table. He turned towards Ling Liuyi 061, arms crossed. Your new host? What are you downloading all his movies for? Ling Liuyi said, And everything else we have on him. What do you want those for? Ling Liuyi said, To deepen my understanding of him, to facilitate faster completion of tasks. 0230's snow-white brows furrowed tightly as if in discontent. 061, let me remind you, don't get too close to your hosts. You have no idea how dirty humans' hearts are. If you don't want to be reformatted again, do as I say. Don't disobey the rules laid down by the main god. 061 knew 023023 meant well. When he was on his 8th host, he was reported once by his own host and punished with a reformatting. After being forcibly reformatted, 061 forgot a lot of things, even forgetting the very reason he'd been reported. His database only retained some basic information about past tasks. This didn't have too much of an impact on 061. He was still the most excellent employee of the year, and his diligence and efficiency still left all the other systems behind in the dust. It was just that even he didn't remember the reason behind his diligence anymore. He seemed to have been in a hurry to catch an appointment, to find a person. But as to who that person was, their name, or even where to look for them, that information had all become fragmented garbage data. Lin Liuyi said, "This is the 15th time you've reminded me. If you don't want to be destroyed, just do your job well," 023023 said. "It's the 16th time now. I've made it an auspicious number. No need to thank me." 061 good-naturedly rubbed the tip of his nose. "Are you done downloading the movies yet?" 023. "It's done. Check your inbox." "So fast." 023 knocked on his forehead, falling silent for a moment. "I've downloaded it before. It was still saved in the database." 0yi was curious. It was someone who'd come from the same world as Xiao. They were one of his brainless fans. 023's words carried a slight undertone of hating iron for not becoming steel. They downloaded every single one of Xiao's movies. Their entire life just revolved around him. Really immature. 061 didn't think anything of it. He pulled out a cartridge from his chest and tossed it to 023. "Pac-Man, produced in 1983, 061 said. "Thanks for your help." 023 was as if he had just gained the most precious treasure. He used his sleeve to give the cartridge a quick clean, trying his best to stop his mouth from grinning and hiding his happiness. "I suppose you do have a conscience." 061 said, "Help me out with another thing." Having gotten a present, 023 was in a much happier mood. "What?" When 061 said his request, blue veins bloomed on 023's forehead. "Do you have any idea how troublesome that is?" 061 gave a slight bow, expressing his request. Gazing at the cover of his new game cartridge, 023 casually waved his hand. Got it. I don't have any problem with helping, but this is too difficult to locate, so I definitely can't get it to you by today." 2 days is also fine." 023 pulled the data cable out of his head and picked up his console once more. "Okay, if there's nothing else, then let this Imperial Court session adjourn." 061 warmly laughed. "As your Majesty orders." Walking to the door, 061 stopped and turned around to ask, "By the way, 023, does the shop stock rat poison?" 023 raised his eyebrows. "Huh?" 061 coughed lightly. "Just a casual question." Xiao spent the night sleeping while the system spent it watching movies. When the effects of the hypnosis card wore off, Xiao promptly woke up. The system checked the time. "It's only 5 a.m. The sun hasn't risen. You should sleep a little longer." Xiao got up, leaving young Baihua alone on the bed. He walked over to the piano bench in the living room and sat down. "After waking up, I can't fall back asleep." With this piano, the originally decently sized living room had become rather cramped. Xiao ran his hands absently over the piano cover, lost in thought. It was unknown what exactly was on his mind. The system took the initiative to start chatting with him. "The shop doesn't stock any rat poison." Xiao lifted up the piano lid. "You actually remembered? I was just kidding." He silently stroked the black and white piano keys, feeling the raging creative impulse and endless inspiration in his body. It was a unique treasure solely belonging to Cheng Yuan, which had been stripped down until there was practically nothing left because of Yang Baihua, who still disparaged it as being superfluous. A mouthful of rat poison, and that's the end of it? That's letting him off too easy, Xiao said. If he didn't get to personally experience everything Cheng Yuan had to go through, wouldn't that be too unfair? Upon waking up, Yang Baihua wanted to pull Cheng Yuan into his arms and bask in their shared warmth for a while, but he'd woken up somewhat late and didn't have any more time to rub their heads together. He could only give Cheng Yuan a hurried hug before rushing out the door with his computer. Before heading out, he grabbed the keys of their new car, saying, "I'm going to see a client at noon, so no need to send me lunch today. I'll buy dinner for us tonight, your favorite braised chicken liver. Right, don't forget to eat breakfast." The good thing about Yang Baihua was that he was truly a tender person. He'd never lost his temper at Cheng Yuan before. During those years when Cheng Yuan was suffering from depression, he was still as good-tempered as ever, still indulging and spoiling Cheng Yuan, as he always had, as if nothing could ever make him truly angry. To put it bluntly, as long as Cheng Yuan's interests didn't conflict with those of his family, he would have been able to continue to treat him so tenderly forever. Right after Yang Baihua's foot stepped out the door, Xiao followed on his heels. He'd checked the route ahead of time and got on the bus to Cheng Jian's company. Cheng Yuan really got motion sickness. The long, bumpy ride made him sick to his stomach. He could only hug the grab pole in a death grip, unable to even speak. The moment the bus reached his stop, he immediately rushed off and found the nearest trash bin. He began to retch incessantly, vomiting till his small face turned pale. The system originally wanted to help him adjust, but suddenly thought of something and held back. Instead, he just helped him by lowering his heart rate to alleviate some of his internal discomfort. Xiao easily straightened back up. He wiped away the involuntary tears that had formed in the corners of his eyes and took out his phone. Facing the entire company office building occupied by the Cheng family company, he dialed a phone number. His eyes were red and his small face was deathly white as he smiled. "Ge, it's me. If you're not busy, come down for a bit." The author has something to say. Today's about the main plotline.